My name is Eliza. I'm 34 years old, and 2 months ago at my mother's 60th birthday dinner, she stood up in front of 120 guests, lifted her wine glass, and said something that changed my life forever. She said, "Some children are blessings, and some are lifelong disappointments, but we love them anyway." Everyone laughed. They thought it was a joke. She was looking directly at me. I didn't cry, I didn't argue, I didn't storm out. I just smiled. The kind of smile you learn when you've been swallowing pain for years. And I said, "Don't worry, Mom. After tonight, you won't have to love me anyway." And I walked out. What happened after that dinner? That's the reason you're here. But before I tell you everything, if you've ever felt like the extra piece in your own family, the one who never quite fit, make sure you're subscribed because this story isn't just mine. It might be yours too. Let me take you back. I was the oldest daughter in a family that only valued perfection. My younger brother, Daniel, was the golden child. Straight A's, football captain, law school. My mother introduced him as my pride. Me? I was sensitive, dramatic, too ambitious, too emotional. When I was 17, I got into an out-of-state university with a partial scholarship. I remember running into the kitchen with the letter in my hand, heart racing. My mom didn't even look up from her phone. "That's nice," she said, "but your brother needs help with his tutoring fees. We can't afford to send you away for some creative writing fantasy." Fantasy. That's what she called my dream. So I stayed. I went to a local college, worked 2 jobs, paid my own tuition, smiled at family dinners while listening to speeches about Daniel's brilliant future. No one ever asked about mine. When I graduated, I didn't get applause. I got, "So what are you going to do with that degree?" I moved to Chicago with $1,300 in my bank account and a suitcase that still smelled like my childhood bedroom. I slept on a friend's couch for 3 months. I worked as a receptionist at a publishing agency during the day and wrote at night. Rejection emails became my morning routine. But here's something no one tells you about being underestimated. When nobody believes in you, you become unstoppable. 5 years later, I published my first novel under a pen name. It sold 3,000 copies. Not impressive to most people, but to me, it was proof. 2 years after that, my third book hit a bestseller list. Not the biggest one, not the flashy headline kind, but enough. Enough that I quit my job. Enough that I bought my own apartment. Enough that I never had to ask my family for a single dollar. And here's the part that feels almost poetic. My mother joined a neighborhood book club. They fell in love with a certain author, an author whose books they described as raw, brilliant, deeply emotional. They had no idea that author was me. She recommended my book to her friends for months without realizing she was praising her own daughter. I never corrected her. Not yet. Then came her birthday dinner. The restaurant was elegant, crystal glasses, soft piano music, all her friends dressed in silk and pearls. Daniel gave a speech about her sacrifices, about how she gave everything to her children. And then she stood up, and she said what she said. Some children are blessings, and some are lifelong disappointments. But we love them anyway. The table laughed. Not one person defended me. Not one. And in that moment, something inside me didn't break. It finished. There's a difference. When something breaks, you try to fix it. When something finishes, you let it go. So I stood up. I thanked her for teaching me resilience. I told her she was right about one thing. Not everyone turns out the way their parents imagine. But then I added, but sometimes that's because they were never meant to live inside someone else's expectations. Silence. You could hear forks hit plates. I walked out before anyone could respond. That night, my phone exploded. Texts from relatives telling me I'd embarrassed her, voicemails from my brother saying I was overreacting, a message from my mom that simply said, "You've always been too sensitive." For the first time in my life, I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. One of her friends, a woman named Claire, messaged me privately. "I didn't know you were that author," she wrote. "Your mother talks about those books all the time." I didn't respond immediately. Then she sent another message. "She doesn't know, does she?" No, she didn't. And I decided she wouldn't. Not out of revenge, out of peace. I stopped attending family gatherings. I blocked the group chat. I changed my emergency contact. I started therapy. And in therapy, my counselor said something that changed everything. She said, "You're not grieving the family you lost. You're grieving the family you never had." That hit harder than anything my mother ever said. Because it was true. I wasn't heartbroken because they were gone. I was heartbroken because they were never really there. Months passed. Then, one evening, my publisher called. A streaming platform wanted to option my latest book for a series adaptation. The deal was life-changing. Interviews, press, articles with my real name attached. My pen name became public. And that's when my phone rang. Mom. I stared at the screen for a long time before answering. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard her. She said, "Why didn't you tell us?" I almost laughed. "Tell you what? That I was capable? That I was worthy? That I didn't need your approval to succeed?" "I tried to tell you for years," I said calmly. "You just weren't listening." Silence. Then she said something I never expected. She said, "I didn't think you'd actually make it." Not congratulations, not "I'm proud of you," just that. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. Her belief was never the requirement for my success. It was just a limitation she tried to place on it. We didn't reconcile that night. There was no dramatic apology, no cinematic hug, just distance. But it was honest distance, and honesty feels better than forced love. A year later, I attended a literary gala in New York. I was invited as a keynote speaker. And when I stepped onto that stage, looking out at hundreds of faces, I thought about that birthday dinner, about the laughter, about the silence. And I said this: sometimes the people who doubt you the most are the ones who taught you how to survive without applause. And sometimes the greatest freedom in life isn't proving them wrong. It's no longer needing them to see you at all. The room stood up. Not because I was someone's daughter, not because I was someone's sister, but because I was me. That's the part I want you to hear. If you've ever been the disappointment, if you've ever sat at a table where your achievements were minimized and your flaws were magnified, if you've ever smiled through a joke that cut deeper than anyone realized, you are not what they labeled you. You are not the role they assigned you. You are not the version of you that made them comfortable. You are the version of you that survived them. And survival, that turns into power. Today, I don't hate my mother. I don't even resent her. She gave me something unexpected. She gave me the hunger to build a life so solid that no one could laugh it away. I still write. I still wake up early. I still get scared before every book release. But I no longer measure my worth by who claps for me at dinner tables. And if you're listening to this right now, I need you to understand something. Walking away doesn't make you cruel. Setting boundaries doesn't make you ungrateful. Choosing peace doesn't make you selfish. It makes you free. If this story touched something in you, if you've ever felt unseen in your own home, comment where you're watching from. Tell me one thing you're proud of that no one celebrated properly. And if you're still here, still listening, still breathing through your own quiet battles, subscribe. Because there are more stories like this, stories about survival, about boundaries, about the moment you realize you were never the disappointment. You were just the one brave enough to become something different. And sometimes different is powerful. Until next time, remember this: you don't need their applause to stand tall. You just need the courage to walk away from the table.